Hello there guys, and welcome to Mad Doc Minis. In this video I'm going to be making a planetary defense turret for Warhammer 40,000. I'm going to use these cheap LED battery powered light sticks to form the basis for the cannons. The way the light patterns work kind of remind me of charging plasma coils, so I'd like to integrate that into the build. To make the base of the turret, I use this large peanut butter tub and cut the bottom of that tub out using a sharp knife. Now the large pink thing you see in the screen there is part of a Ruminate toy. I'm going to use that to form the rotating platform of the turret. It's got a nice deep rim on the bottom, which you'll see, and that just slots really nicely into that hole that I've just cut out there. No gluing, no mechanism, just sitting it down in there for some function. I'm going to put the lid back on that tub for a bit of extra rigidity and strength. This tube is from a kitchen sink overflow system. It's got a ribbed structure to it, which is perfect for plasma coils, the look of the plasma coils that is, and the light stick slots down really well into it. It's also translucent, so the light shines through when you switch them on and diffuses a little bit, which is perfect. Now I've only got just enough of this stuff to do 2 cannons, so it's going to be a 2 cannon turret. I'm going to chop that in half, and once I've done that you'll see that the ribbed pipe, the overflow pipe, actually slots perfectly into this cardboard tube that I've got, which is from the center of a roll of tin foil. Perfect fit. So the idea here is to kind of try and build a layered structure, because I want those plasma coils to look like they're an integral part of the structure of the cannon rather than just kind of stuck on. So we're going to chop that tube in half, 1/2 for each cannon, and that's going to form the main structure of each cannon. And then we need to go about chopping out an oblong section of the tube so that you'll get this kind of appearance of these exposed plasma coils. Little bit of a fiddly job this. Go steady, use a sharp blade and watch your fingers. Slowly does it. And then when you're ready to take out that section, little bit of a mess as you can see here, a bit of tidy up required. Mine certainly didn't come out perfect, but I'm not really about perfection. I'm a bit of an orc when it comes to these kind of builds, so that's fine. So you can see here, slotting the tube back down in there, really perfect fit, really happy with that. And if you've seen images, you know, from the lore of Warhammer 40,000, you'll always see these kind of exposed coils on plasma weaponry, and I think that really does a nice job of imitating that. Just doing another check here for the length on the light stick, making sure that all the lights are able to shine through, which they are. We also need to think about fixing those tubes in place as well, so they don't kind of rattle around inside the tube. And I just use a little bit of super glue to do that, just around the edges inside there. That's just enough to hold them in place so they don't kind of move around or dislodge. So another thing that I do as well is actually colour in the ribbed pipe, the overflow pipe, with a blue Sharpie. A little bit of a laborious job here, and I can't get to all the nooks and crannies of the pipe, which is okay, but it just adds a further blue tint to the pipe. The lights on the light stick are multicoloured, which is fine, but I just wanted to kind of bring it a little bit further into the blue spectrum, so that's why I did that. Obviously I had to do that on both sides, but I think that is going to kind of make it a little bit more obviously plasma. Yeah, this is part of the build that actually kind of changed a couple of times. I kept the footage in, but my original goal here was to kind of glue the muzzle of the cannon barrel to the light stick internally, so that you'd kind of take the barrel off the top of the cannon and the whole light stick comes out with it. The idea here was so I could kind of switch it on and off easily, change batteries if I needed to, and things like that. It actually ended up a little bit different in the end, but I do show you what I did do. I just kept this footage in because it is all part of the process after all. So here I'm kind of gluing part of another tube onto the end of the tinfoil tube. This is kind of the tube from a bit of kinesio taping, bit of strapping tape. Really rigid and strong. I'm just kind of super gluing that round, and it just required a bit of extra length to accommodate the whole light stick, which is why I'm doing this. And you know, there are several iterations here actually, and I tried to kind of drill a hole so I could access the switch on the light stick, so I could switch it on and off, but in truth that didn't really work very well. So you know, you'll notice some differences in the last build, really, the way it ends up. That is showing you the mechanism that I originally envisaged, which was actually quite a good idea, but you know, never mind. And that's a Warhammer 40,000 round base I'm just putting on the end for it to kind of close the whole unit. So I've got some more stuff here, some more bits of ruminate. I've got these little wooden kind of pallet things that are from a child's farm toy. They've already been kind of spray painted black because I was going to use them for another project, but they're actually made of wood. And they're going to form the main structure for the turret. We've also got these Lego pieces, the kind of sci-fi wheels, but produce some wonderful shapes and some great greebling for next to no effort. They're going to be the big actuators for the cannons to attach to. And I've got some more ruminate bits there, which are going to be the main supports for the cannons. So a little bit of hot glue here, and we're going to kind of make a little bit of a central tower by putting 3 of these boxes on top of one another. And we're going to glue these Lego wheels together using little dabs of hot glue as well. And as you can see, when they come together, they produce these really gorgeous sci-fi shapes. Again, for no effort, really. So, yeah, really, really happy with that. Lego, incidentally, is just great for sci-fi builds. I mean, not all Lego, but some pieces, like these wheels, like the little vents, and sometimes the railings and things like that. Really good. Lego's, I guess, is a bit of an untapped resource for these things. I've seen a few people using Lego, but not many for these kind of builds. So yeah, we're going to attach those onto the side, and the thing's starting to come together a little bit more now. I actually opted in the end to screw these on because the pallets are made of wood. They take screws really, really well, and there's a hole going through the centre of these wheel things. So why not? Used a couple of washers and nuts just to kind of adjust the length of the screw, and went ahead and screwed those on. Obviously I had 2, so I had to kind of make sure they were lined up properly, but they went in perfectly. And being screws as well and being centrally fixed, they do allow for some rotation, so it can be posed up and down as well as rotation. So you've got like you know, all axes of movement, really. A little bit more ruminate here, just kind of glued that down into the hollow areas in these wheels, just because I needed a little bit more surface area to attach the kind of cannon assembly onto. Ruminate is really useful like this. If you can get hold of some, do, and if it's reasonably priced and everything, because it is the sort of stuff you find yourself drawing on again and again. It's really useful, sticks together well, free greebling again. So yeah, really, really good stuff, actually. I like it a lot. Then I go and try and do a little bit of cardstock banding for good measure. Not my strong suit, guys, but I give it a go. Just adds a little bit of extra detailing, hides a few sins, and just kind of brings the thing back to scale, I think, as well, just adding a further layer of detail. The undisputed master of these kind of techniques is a guy called Eric on Eric's Hobby Workshop on YouTube. Go and check him out. Fantastic builds. Much more skilled than me, and much higher degree of perfection in his builds as well. So yeah, you should go and check him out. It's really, really good. But I just kind of like rattle on and do my best here, and it turns out okay. A little bit of super glue, a little bit of careful bending here and there, and it just, you know, provides an extra layer of detail. So that's great. So yeah, it is, you know, give it a go because it does add something. Then I've got this, I don't know what you'd call it really. It's kind of like a corner type cover things that you can get from, I got mine from B&Q. It's kind of like a PVC type material, and I use this a lot on my builds just to kind of hide my sins, really. I had to trim this back a little bit, but I wanted to use it on some of the rough cuts on that exposed bit of pipe there, because it's cardboard. The cuts come out a little bit rough, even though I was using a sharp knife. So I just kind of trim these down a little bit, a little bit narrower, so they will do the job for me. And it just ends up making it look that little bit neater, and also again just adds in a little bit of extra detail, another little layer onto the build. A little bit fiddly and farty here to make these cuts, but worth it, I think. Definitely kind of tidies it up a little bit. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know what this stuff's called, but as I said, I got mine from B&Q. It's quite readily available. I'm sure you can get it online as well. Different sizes. Always go smaller than you think. The giant ones are really not much use for 28mm builds, really. So this is the smallest one I could find at the hardware store. A little bit of filing there just to tidy up the rough cuts on that. And then a case of gluing them in, slotting them in and gluing them in onto the sides of the plasma coils there. So I hot glue the cannons onto the supports, and I use these Lego Sci-Fi wheels to slot over the end of the cardboard tubing. This is what's different from earlier in the video, so much simpler. Just slot the light stick down inside the hollow tube, and then that just kind of slides in over the top perfectly. Job done. So I use another little bit of curved ruminate here, and just make some little side panels for it, just drawing a little bit of a shape out on the side there, just to box it in a little bit, make a little sub-assembly, and then that goes right on top of the turret just to add a bit of extra shaping and detail. Got these Lego pieces for a bit of extra greebling on the cannons, and this skull just to connect it to Warhammer 40,000 and AdMech. And I use a little bit of extra ruminate, curved piece again, to act as a radar dish on the back, hot glued on. So I've got some more detailing to do on this, guys, and obviously I've got to paint it up as well. I'm going to do that in part 2, so please join me for that. Like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the second video, where we will make this look even more 40k.